Well, hello everybody, and yeah, welcome to 2023, our first episode of the new year. How are we all doing, guys? Robbie, Swami, good to see you both. How you doing?
Hey, very good.
Happy New Year, John. It's delayed, I know that.
Yeah, it feels like it's been an age, but yeah, it's only been a few weeks. But yeah, we've had a whole new year in between. So yeah, look, hope you guys have, obviously had a great break and whatnot. But yeah, and undoubtedly you're back into the thick of it with work and projects and all sorts of things now into January. So if you're anything like me, the world is a busy place at the minute. But anyhow, we're back to it. Right, what have we got planned for today then? We got some episode 14. Thank you everybody. I'm just checking the stream at the minute. We've got a few people joining us. So yeah, hi everybody. Please feel free to take part in the chat. We'll pick up any comments and notes as we go through the session today. But design system integration. Guys, what are we up to today? Who wants to take that?
That's right. We're going to wrap up delivering the design system at this point. And then we're actually going to migrate back over to working on the client. But first, we want to make sure that we present the details that are needed that compose the client, which is why we went into this deep dive in the design system right now. So the first thing I was going to do, I know Swami is going to jump in and have a lot of details that are vital in this conversation in the next part, but I just wanted to just go back and touch on why we're, it's been a while because we had the long break over 2022 and 2023. So what's the design system? What's the idea here? Why is this the hot idea that we went for instead of something like micro front ends? Because micro front ends are another really hot kind of pattern that are used increasingly in companies, although maybe not without some controversy more recently.
I'm with you. So are we going to do a little bit of a review then as to where we are at the moment, and then we'll take it from there, I guess?
Yeah, we can do that for sure. Swami, you don't mind if I just jump right in then with that? Okay.
What's it, Robbie? I'm sorry.
I'm going to do that. So Johnny, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. It's not vital that you rush to get me over, get my screen showing or anything, because I don't have anything I'm going to show right away. The first thing I really want to talk about is just to compare and contrast like what it is that we're getting out of a design system. And the reason really for that is because that we're not going to go into the details of what is in here in these components that we build out in our design system. We're not going to go in and, I mean, I can show you very quickly, like we have, HTML components that can be relatively complicated in certain cases, though they don't have to be. And likewise the template, I'm sorry, not the template, that is the template. But likewise the TypeScript file, the class can have inputs that that can be used and to it. And you might wonder, well, why are you doing this? Why are you making me look at this? And the reality is that this will allow us to reuse common components like that, as well as common fonts and font definitions and icons like this here, this little eShop icon. And this icon is actually where it started. This was just me. I was just using an AI system to generate icons for our shop so that we had something to work with. And this was the icon that I ended up picking. Swami and I looked at a few of the ones that were generated that were kind of best. And we actually walked through one of the icon designers together to try and build out and get icons that we agreed on together. But these colors here compose our palette.
Yeah.
But the only thing that the AI system that I was using to generate this knew to do was to build something that was based on some adjectives that we threw at it and concepts like the eShop itself. And it was just producing an image. It wasn't producing a design system. So that's where this comes from. And for that reason,
Robbie?
It's not really proposed the way a designer would. Yeah.
Robbie, we are not able to hear you.
What, on the stream, or I can hear Robbie loud and clear.
Was it?
Oh, good.
Oh, it's okay. Now I'm able to hear you. So I was just was recollecting this scene that Saturday. Robbie and I were searching on the color combination, and we went through many screens. And at a time, I thought that we might fight over which color to choose. It took almost 1.5 hours to decide this one image. Robbie, do you remember that? Like choosing which color?
I mean, I spent more than 1.5 hours. I think we spent about an hour or so, ourselves together.
Exactly.
Just going through the process. I used more than one AI system too, but we all ultimately obviously just went with one icon to kind of base everything from, like, because that's our brand icon. This is our branding icon.
Right.
But from that we get colors, and you can see, like here, let me get rid of this preview, that we've got this light mode and dark mode application of colors like that purple that you saw there, and the yellow, which I don't know why I called it that, but that's that color. And then there were other related colors that I was able to pull from just using a color palette system from that, and we're able to produce this SCSS, which we'll be able to import and take advantage of along with these assets from our design system into all of our projects. So our projects will be able to reuse the same image and reuse those same styles. It's not just when they're using this these components, but they'll be able to use it in general, right? And that's what the design system is really bringing to to bear for us. That's the solution that it provides, right? But like I said, none of us are really designers. We didn't go back and like refine this into something. I mean, it's not that I don't have any design experience. It's that I didn't want to spend my time concentrating on that. And so none of us were really taking on actually applying design. Also, whenever you're like working as a front-end engineer, usually you're working with a designer, and it's kind of hard to wear both hats in an arrangement like that. So we just left it as a sample to get us up and running. And the reason that we're doing it this way, because like Swami wanted to use material UI or Angular material. And Angular material is a great system that you can use. But larger organizations will tend to have enough things that they want to change and enough like they'll have enough segregation between their mobile and web interfaces that it no longer makes a whole lot of sense in many cases in an enterprise environment to be using material UI on your web interface. So that's not something we wanted to prescribe as if that was the right thing to do, because it wouldn't really reflect what you would normally be doing. So then we needed to bring this in and reuse it. So then you might wonder, okay, so why do we do it this way? Why are we doing it as an object like this that we intend to import with NPM when we could use micro front ends? Yeah. So with a design system, the pluses and minuses that you get out of it are that it allows your projects just to focus on their local concerns, like concerns that are about the project rather than concerns about making sure that it looks exactly the way that it does, that, you know, a similar thing or the same thing, like the header, you know, looks on a different page. You don't have to worry about that. And it facilitates code reuse and modular development, because anywhere where you need to write something that's common, if it's common enough that it's actually going to be in the common components part of your design system, then you can just export it out of your design system. Or if there are style decisions that you're making that are just going to be universal across your applications, you can just put them directly into your design system. If instead you're going to work on something that is a project or feature specific approach, then you can just put that in that project, in the repo for that project. And you don't have to, you know, it facilitates modular reuse that way. The problem with that is that it does require adherence to updates that are based on a development practice. So when you're developing something that uses a library and then that library changes, it then becomes a responsibility to make sure that that project gets updated as well. But a lot of times projects will get funding and have a sunset period where they're, you know, they go into like hypercare, and then they're no longer being actively developed after that. So anybody who makes changes to the library, if they want those to appear in dead projects or projects that don't currently have funding, they have to go back and manually do that. And that just requires an adherence practice, you know. Although it also requires that you don't make changes that are going to break, or that you are responsible for the changes that you make that are going to break things, you know. So it requires some degree of cognizance about how you're going to use it. That could be seen as a disadvantage, particularly in comparison to like a micro front end architecture, and we'll get into that in a second. But it can also be hard to well, let me skip that other topic for a second. I might come back to it. For micro front ends, the idea here is instead that you develop something that can be brought in almost like in an iframe, but it can share the same application space. It can share the same DOM, and can talk directly to other. You can build a bridge between the services that are available from the micro front end architecture and the rest of the page that's consuming it. And in that way, it facilitates code reuse. And it removes the requirement that you actually manually manage the updates, because whenever you make a change to the micro front end, it then appears everywhere that's using it, because it's coming in like through an iframe, you know. And this is really useful if you want to enforce a style on a third-party vendor. Like if you're working with a bank and you want the bank to provide a login, but it's really, you know, the special visa for your company or something like that, then the process of that, they have things that they need to put into that login page that are unique to them, but you have things that you want to enforce in the appearance of that login page. So you need to be able to expose those details to be reused by the third party, but you ultimately want control. You don't want the bank to have control or to be stuck waiting on an update from you or something, right? So that third-party facilitation is really important. And people are using it outside of working with third parties. They're using it even within companies where people just want to work together very independently, where maybe one team is doing React and another team's doing Angular, and you can build those bridges between React and Angular just fine. But it does significantly increase complexity. You have to build the bridge, and it uses something called module federation. And it also encourages code duplication as a consequence too, whenever you're applying that. So for those reasons, there are places where you might want to use micro front ends. And we're thinking about maybe in the future exploring micro front ends for our project. But that's not this. Right. That's not the design system,
So I would like to add a couple of points from my side, Robbie, whatever I observed. The first thing is, imagine an organization and there are two teams. One is Robbie's team and one is John's team. And Robbie's team, they create a reusable text box, which can be used for email and different kind of things. And assume that John's team wants to work on this one. So one of the sample, John, if you don't mind, could you please flash my screen for a second, real quick? I just want to show one example, which I learned from Neil Cummings' video. I really liked it. Like if you see this one simple input text box, and this text box has got all the almost all the things, like if someone touch and come out of this, it shows the red like it is required, and all the errors, the feedbacks, it will do it, and you can have the minimum length and the maximum length and the password. If you see this one simple text box, it's like a reusable box. Now you can use this for your first name, your last name, or your password or email, but you add more logic. Now, if John has created this, Robbie, Swami, and John's team, all three teams can use the same text box. Now, what is happening by creating these reusable components? We are winning 50% of the battle right before starting the battle. Mm-hmm. And the UI, user interface, and the rules of the game, everyone across the organization will follow the same. Like if the text box has to be 40 pixels height, everyone should have the 40 pixels height. And the width, 200 pixels, 200 pixels. And all the validations which has to be taken care is already embedded in that control. And that has been pushed to the design system. All we have to do is we don't need to worry on that how to write this text box which will do a validation. Robbie has already written, take this NPM package from the design system, just use it. Pass whatever you want. Just pass the message. Like I want 50 characters length minimum and 150 characters maximum. But John says that I want 2 characters minimum and 12 characters maximum. These are variables, but rest of the things, everything we are getting it from Robbie's package. And the designs across the organization will be the same. The controls, the flexibility, everything is already baked in. We only need to take those controls, pass what it requires, and place it. Back to you, Robbie. Thanks. Anything to add on top of this, Robbie?
Thank you for explaining more explicitly what the sort of components are that will be shared, or what the sort of features that can be shared and can be modularized in terms of project responsibility. Just to wrap up that segment, I would just say that the design system is really useful for common styling, for reusable components. If that's the depth of separation that you're looking for, you probably just want a design system and you don't really want to go further. But in my opinion, and this is controversial, really, some people are going whole hog and using this even whenever this is not true. But in my opinion, the big use case for micro front end architecture is when you're working with external teams, when you have a third party that is completely in a different company that still needs to represent your company, has to use your assets and your design. You want your product team to be a part of validating and accepting product acceptance, then working with external teams is a great call for a micro front end. But also, I have to admit that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's better, even in cases where you just want significant independence and you're just not achieving that level of independence between teams within the same company, then a micro front end architecture is a good approach. In the README for this session, there's a couple of references, one in Spanish and one in English, because I speak a bit of Spanish. I'm in Argentina right now, actually, that go into this and that I used as references in building that section that we just talked about. And I invite everybody to take a look at those if they want to read a bit more about it. But with that, I actually want to show in detail a little bit. I made a promise that you could get things like this asset and these styles over here. If you can see my screen, I don't know if it's set yet. Cool. Yeah, so we want to expose these things, these styles, these assets inside of the other project. And to do that, you're actually gonna have to mount it in the other project. I can't just immediately, very easily expose it from here. But what I can do is I can set it to be exposed in the ng package for the project. Whenever you build a library with Angular, the way we did in earlier steps in this previous sessions, it creates this file for you, but it doesn't create this. So what we would do is we would put in these assets that can be brought in and describe where to mount them and from where to mount them. And then these things will become available from our project. In other words, they actually will go into our dist under assets, for example, and under styles. And then they can be consumed whenever this gets built into an NPM package. So let me just take a second to look at my notes here. Yeah, so then the other part that we're exposing are things like components and related services. And then we might want to, in our case, what we have done is we've created storybook representations of these so that we can look at what they look like. And I'll just go ahead and show you what this project is available, and you can already, I believe, it's not private, Swami.
It's public. It's public.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, you can
only
you
the
can go
package
in.
We made it.
I just want to give you a quick tour of what it looks like. So, what was that, Swami?
So what I'm telling is the package what we created as a private, but the repo is open source. Anyone can go and grab it. And Robbie, I would like to add one thing. Like most of the organizations, as I was mentioning, they use this these kind of design systems and the reusable components, because once Robbie's project is success and John takes those components and he gains some portion of the time. Like if Robbie takes 2 months to complete a project and he creates a reusable component, when I take that reusable component, I will gain some 2 weeks time. So instead of 8 weeks, I might complete my project in 6 weeks. When John is doing, he might complete it around 6 weeks or 5 weeks. So we are gaining this. The only thing what we will need to take care is, if at all there is a bug, that fix will be done at the package, and we have to update the package, and all the bug will be fixed in all 10 projects. Okay, that's one thing. And another important thing we need to take care, Robbie, correct me if I'm wrong. Suppose if there is an enhancement or if there is a bug and you fix it in the design system, all the 10 projects which uses that component will get that update if they update the package, assuming that there is no breaking change. And if at all we need a breaking change, so what we have to do is we have to call for CCB, change control board meeting. So that means other 10 projects who are using this design system.
I'm sorry, Swami. How did you say they will get it?
You have the design system version, what I'm telling is if there is an enhancement or bug fix, you do it to the design system. You update the package from version 4.1 to 4.2. Now all the 10 projects whichever you're using will use 4.2. They'll get the latest updates, features, assuming that these are non-breaking changes. And if at all there are breaking changes, we should call for a change control board meeting.
That's right. So
Change
there's
control
actually
board
two
meeting,
packages
and everyone will.
in this project. There's the outer package that mounts the entire project, and then there's the inner package that you use to publish your NPM repository, and you would update the version number, and then go through the process of doing a pull request, and that will produce a new artifact, right?
Right. So only thing is we need to take care, if at all there is a breaking change, call for the change control board, and all the projects whichever is using this particular component. There might be hundreds of components in this design system package, but the component which rest of the teams are using, everyone should agree that they will upgrade it once we fix it, because there is a breaking change. We have to get the acceptance from all the team before doing a breaking change. If it is not a breaking change, we can go ahead and fix it and just let them know as an FYI
that gets into the responsibility, the complexity I was talking about that you do face with a design system, that you need to be responsible for the changes and the publication of those changes afterwards. If I create an update and it's a minor version, it's a non-breaking change, a dead project that's not going to go back and do an NPM install again and do another publication to update their they don't have to make a code change. They just have to do the install and like rerun it, right? Redeploy. But if they don't do that, then they're not going to get the new version, and it's not going to show up. So somebody needs to be responsible for that. And that also means you need to have a way to be responsible for changes that, because you don't want to limit yourself to only making changes that don't matter, right? If the library is limited to never matter, then why have the library, right? So you need to think intelligently about how to share common information whenever it's supposed to be common. If I can just continue here, I was going to show that the storybook here acts as like a style guide that you can go in and take a look at. You could set up controls so that you can change the way it works. Like I've got a couple of controls set up here. In icon view, the profile is not going to show up, but here I can change, I think, this to be like my profile, and it just immediately changes the name of the full profile view, which is obviously just a dummy view for profile, but just wanted to show that these are components, and it shows how you can configure them. And those stories are actually in the stories folder that we keep. And an organization might actually publish this as its own separate web page so that people can go and take a look at it live and play with the stories and play with the components and understand, how they work and how to set it up in terms of the template in those different cases. But I just wanted to show that piece, that
it's like a reference guide. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's a reference guide, yes, and it's showing one of the things that we're going to be exposing. We're showing styles, we're showing assets, and we're showing components that are actually going to be exposed in that process. So we've produced all of these things, and hopefully we have a team organization, inter-team dependency and structure and agreement where we can maintain this and it can be used and be beneficial to people. At that point, we're really ready to consume these components in those external projects, right? And for that, we actually have to publish it in GitHub. And I think Swami can take take the next step with that.
Right. So in one of my organization, I was in the core team. In the sense, we used to create those libraries which will be used by multiple teams. So these all things we used to follow that. So we used to call for the change control board and send out an email specifying that whether it's a breaking change or a non-breaking change, all these things. Cool. So, Robbie, you have covered
All the way to 3.
section 1 and 2.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's perfect. So it's action time. GitHub packages. Really like the cat though. Seriously. I love it.
I'm just that's I think it's called Cat as a Service is the name of that place. You can go and find it.
I know. I really love this. Johnny, if you don't mind, could you please flash my screen?
You're on live.
Okay. Okay. And once again, I definitely like to thank Mr. Neil Cummings. From his video course, I learned this. And before this, Robbie used to teach me about these concepts. But having learned from Robbie and Neil,
I don't think that we did, though.
have
I
a
think
good
maybe
knowledge on that.
If I can just interrupt really quickly, as I recall, we actually explored this together, and then we just researched a couple of pieces. You might have learned about it afterwards, or maybe I'm wrong, and I'm actually apologizing if that's the case. But I could have sworn that you knew a lot of this. You knew a lot of this.
The order was correct, Robbie. The order is correct. I learned it from you. Then I learned from Neil Cummings' course. So first you taught me, then I learned from his course. Now two master brains has taught me. So thanks to both Robert Collins and Neil Cummings.
I don't have a documentation, guys. I'll let him take the credit.
No, I'm the documentation. I'm saying that Robbie Collins is my guru for Angular and TypeScript. Okay. So how do we create this package? Till now we were speaking about the design system, how people will use. Now let's take the example of the NuGet package, okay, or the Python libraries or any libraries. How do you switch or give it to others? So there is one good documentation from GitHub Docs that we have posted it here as part of the reference. This will be purely hands-on. So we might switch between Robbie's screen and my screen, but it is purely hands-on and action items. Okay, so the first thing is, let's quickly walk through this, the step-by-step. How do you create the NPM package? How do you publish the NPM packages to GitHub package? That's the first thing. So we have created a GitHub repository. It doesn't have anything. It's just a blank folder, new repository. There's one source. Here we will have our hello world of the Node.js NPM package. And this is the one which will use the greetings package. Rest everything is empty. I just did the, I just cloned it on my local box. Okay, so that's first thing. And the second step is, we'll see, we will have a package repository here. In every repository, you'll have a packages tab. And inside this, you can go and add your packages. Now, if you see, there are some packages which has been tagged as private. That means the source code of this design system. Let me come back here. If I go to this design system, let me open this design system in a new window. The source code of the design system is open source. That means anyone can get this. See the visibility. The visibility is public, so anyone can forget, anyone can use this one. So the packages we created as a private, just to showcase that how an organization publish it to their artifacts to the repository and use it internally. Just for that reason, we created this as a private package. So when it is a private package, you need the token. Okay, that's one point. So first I'll walk you through quickly. So authenticating to GitHub packages. For that, you need to have a token, PAT token. You need to have the PAT token. So how do we create a PAT token? Is if you come to your profile and go to this settings, and from their settings you can scroll down, and under the developer settings you can create the personal access token. So you can create either the classic token, whatever Robbie and I we are using is this package which we created a couple months ago. So delete packages, repo, write packages, and it is available till this one. So other one is fine grain token. So if you want, you can generate a new token. So that asks for secondary authentication.
Let me just jump in really quickly. I just want to highlight what you said, because you said it, but I just want to make sure it's very clear. The permissions that you need are to write and to delete packages, right? Yeah, because they're different in different places. There's actually, I think, 3 of them that you need if you do it in Azure using Azure artifacts. We're doing it here on GitHub using GitHub Actions, or we will eventually integrate this in with a GitHub action, and that's what it will need in order to be able to do this, right?
True. So you can see that we can go pretty deep into this, and you can create the package. One important thing is assume that you are part of different organization. If you see that learn GitHub packages, this is a separate organization, and Vichy Pilot, this is my root account. And I'm part of my root account as well as this package. Even in this scenario, we can select that as an owner, and we can go ahead and create. We can select a particular repository, and on what repository we need this, we can do that. And here also, if I come in here, I can select that repository, and public repositories read only, or all repositories, or do a fine grain. I want this repository, on which repository I want, and I can give this permission. So that's pretty important. I just wanted to highlight that one piece. You need to have the PAT token. Okay, so let's come back to the documentation piece here. We'll walk you through, and we'll spend 5-10 minutes to quickly do a hands-on. So we are here in the section 3. We saw what is packages, the documentation. We said that how does the package looks. And one more thing I want to highlight here is if I go into this packages, you can see what all the versions we have it. Okay, and those versions you can see here, like we started with 1 all the way till 6. We go this. And another important point we wanted to highlight, so that's the reason wantedly we created a couple of errors there. When you don't bump up the version number and you try to publish it either from your local system or from the GitHub action, it fails. It says that it fails with this error message saying that you did not bump up your version number in the package. That's what Robbie was showcasing it. Okay,
I love
so
that.
we need to
it's
have
fantastic that that's built in.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's when we know the difference, what features we have released it in which version. So this is a packages folder. And how do we need the sample JSON? Let's do a hands-on real quick. Robbie, watch my shoulders, please.
What would you like me to show?
I'm starting. Okay, I might do some mistake. So
you want me to watch your
screen?
Can you make your screen a little bit, your text a little bit bigger for me?
Oh yeah, sure. I will definitely do that. Appearance, zoom out, isn't it?
You should be able to Control plus.
Control plus, yeah.
Control plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit better. Yeah, that's cool.
Excellent.
Ooh. Okay, thanks. So right now I'm in the SRC folder. So I do want to, okay, npm init -y, just to avoid consuming a lot of time. Just let's make a simple greetings package and then we'll publish it. And that's taking time. So we already have the code, which we would like to copy paste. I'll close Neil Cummings thing. So I can come back here. We'll need this. So why it's taking this much time? Okay, cool. So we got this package package JSON, and the name is this one. So we should be very careful when we are creating this package. The package should be in this manner. Okay, so I will change this to greetings.
So whenever you say in this manner, you're talking about the naming convention and the name tag. Is that what you were referring to?
Yeah, the repository and the package name.
So yeah, that's right. So specifically within GitHub, the way you would tend to do it is you would do your own name, like at @Vishypayalur in your case, or at Robbie Moo in my case, / and then the name of the repository. Yeah.
Name of this the package, how it gets published.
Yes.
In the package. Okay, so we just do this one change, and this publish config, we both read, Johnny and Robbie and I, we were doing pair programming, and we read that piece from this documentation itself here. Okay, so that's the first thing we have to do. And the next thing is we will write a very small index.js with one method. So I just create that one method here in the file index.js, and then I will say greet user, and method name is greet user. It's accepting this, and it's displaying. So one thing I would like to do is console.log message. Okay, Copilot, thank you so much. And we are exporting this one. Now the package is ready. Okay, so once again, this npm-rc is not required, but we are placing it. But two important things is the index.json, where you write your functionality and export that greet user, and the package, the key thing is the name, how do you create it, and the version number, you need to bump it up. And publish repository, we do this. And after that, I come in here, and let's quickly go to the packages tab. Let me come in here to the packages tab, and I do a full refresh, and you see that we don't have this greetings package. So npm publish, and there's another thing which Robbie and I, we will speak about it. So you can see that the moment I did it, so it executed that, it zipped it, and the name is Vishypayalur greetings. The version number is this, and we should see this as part of our packages. Let's do the refresh. When I do the refresh, you can see that this is a package, and we are able to use it. And it took it as a private. I wanted to show it as a public. I think Robbie, you can use it. This one. Now, if you come and see,
just at the end. Let me see if I can, because I don't have the name he was using, but I can see if I can cast it myself. Oh, hey, Swami.
Greeting.
You dropped for a second, but you're back.
No, yeah, I think
Oh,
there's a delay between India and Argentina. To be honest, Robbie, I'm getting both of you fine. I'm in the middle.
okay. So we have this package, and immediately what I will do is I would love to push the package. Let's create a negative scenario. When I do npm publish again, I didn't bump the version number. So that's where you saw that in the GitHub also. So we'll close this. Now, immediately what we will do is we'll come back to this publish profile, and let me grab this. The publishing is also pretty simple. So I'll take this and paste it here. For the time being, I'll close it, and you can see that publishing the greetings. It's not hello world. It is greetings npm package. We are saying that branches main or release type created and workflow dispatch. We can manually execute this. Okay, we are executing an Ubuntu, and we need the permissions for read and write, and we do actions git out and github checkout, and the version number of node is 16. We are installing in the in the .src, and we are publishing. Okay, let's see how things works. We might get hit with one problem, probably the same one about going ahead and adding the permission. But let's see if we are hitting with that problem. Okay, so GitHub workflow. So I'm adding this GitHub workflow, and let's cross our fingers. Added that, and the moment we add it, we'll go and manually execute it. And did I bump the version? I think I definitely would have bumped it.
If not, this is a great
I
excuse
bumped
to start
that
a pull
version.
request.
Oh yeah. Actually, I didn't put the branch protection there. I think it should go directly into that. So let's see. Let me quickly go to the code and get into the workflow. Yeah, we have this one. Oh, did it blue? Boom. The same thing we were discussing, Robbie. It will asking for the permission. I think we need to go and set up the permission. It says that
So
forbidden 403. So
that's going to be
when you
because
get
you have a private repo. Is that what it is?
exactly, yeah, exactly. So now we need to get into this inside this greetings, and we need to get into the packages, and this is the one which is greetings. See this one, this package. We need to give that one, and I want to give it write permission should be there, just to avoid. I just gave it as a admin. Write permission should suffice. And let's come back to this one. Let's go back here and publish greetings package, and I will manually execute the workflow. I was suspecting, Robbie, that will hit with this. I didn't expect that it will mark that as a private. I thought the other day when we were doing pair programming, it created the public one. I need to do that.
Can I show just for 5 seconds here? If we can switch over to my screen, I just want to show. This is maybe like me stealing thunder for my own private thing, which I don't mean to do really. But this is a handy TypeScript library that I've kept for years. I've kept this for at least a couple of years now, and I've never actually published this as npm artifacts. I always go in and copy my source code for different classes that I have. Like I have a list class, which just makes it easier to do things like get the last index, or to split into groups. Like if I wanted to take a list and then combine it into basically a two-dimensional list of a certain width, then there's a means to do that. There's a bunch of different things like that. lots of different little pieces that I thought were really handy. And so whenever we did this together, the first thing I did is I went over and tried to apply it in my own repo, and then we couldn't get it to work. And Swami got it to work by noticing that I had to give the permission to the project.
Robbie, could you please use it while you are sharing your screen? Could you please use the greetings? Then I will bump up the version, because wantedly we created one issue. You will see the console log once and it returns. So that issue.
Okay, just a second. Let me do exactly that.
Then I'll raise another. I'll bump up the version. So you should see only one statement.
What's the name of your, is it greet hello?
It's greetings, greet user.
Greetings.
The method name is, the package name is greetings.
Okay, and give me just a second. Cool. So I have version 102 of greetings.
Yes, 102. 102 of greetings.
Okay.
Right.
And you would like me to use it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It should print twice. So then I'll fix that console log which I written, and I'll bump up the version to 3. Then we will show how people can change it. Even the change management we are showing.
My CPU is going crazy here. There it goes. Yeah, I got it twice.
Twice. Okay. So just wait there. Let me quickly go and fix that. I will comment the console log and then bump up the version to 103. And I do a check-in. I do a check-in, and I do a check-in now. Code fix. Code fix. I did a code fix and I did a push. I have a junior speaker. He woke up from the sleep. Yeah. So I did a code fix. Now, once I did the code fix, I go back to my repo and get into the actions, and the code fix is being built. And let me go. It started 10 seconds ago. I think that's there now.
Yep, I'm at 103 now.
Woo!
And I only got one hello.
Woo! So that's because this was a non-breaking change. And this is a real-time scenario we are showing, but taking a simple hello world, imagine a scenario. I am publishing the package. Robbie and Johnny both are using. And Robbie figured it out. He's seeing 2 console lines. He said that, hey, Swami, can you fix it? I fixed it. It's non-breaking change. Robbie updated to 103, but John wants to stick to 102 for some reason. He's okay seeing 2 lines of console log, but Robbie is not. So these kind of things, we can do it seamlessly. But if there is a breaking change, we definitely need to have the change control board. Even in this scenario, even in non-breaking change scenario, we definitely need to have the change control board. We need to get the approval from all the parties who are using this package before we change. In every organization, when we are using the reusable packages, maybe C# or any language for the matter of fact, we definitely need the change control board. Any more points to add, Johnny and Robbie, on this
Yeah,
change
I have
control board
one.
thing?
Just because
Yes.
we're on 103 doesn't mean I can't go back if it did break. If it broke for me, I might not want that, right? So then I can actually do npm I. Let's do it right now. Greetings at 1.0. Did you publish 1.0.0?
I have 1.2 and 1.3.
Oh, 1.2. Okay. So I can go back to 1.2 and you can see what the number changed here. I did roll back to 1.2. It doesn't get rid of it whenever it produces the most recent one. It just adds to what's available. So you get, just like you would on NPM if you were to publish it on NPM. But the nice thing about publishing it on GitHub, of course, is that you can make it private.
And also you will see 2 log statements if you execute it. If I'm
Oh,
not
sure.
wrong.
Yeah. If I execute it now, I'm back on the
just-
one that I wanted. That's right. That's right.
Right. So one more point is, it just like, it's not a blame game, but when we called all the parties, when I'm trying to bump the version of the package from 102 to 103, we invite the change control board and we invite all the teams who are using this library. So mostly these kind of rollbacks might not happen. I mean, the errors or exceptions might not happen because we might release this package to the beta version and alpha and beta, and we'll ask all the team to do a quick testing to validate the changes that their applications are not breaking because of the updated package. Once we get the blessings from all the teams who uses it, then we will do a release from alpha beta to release this package. And I'm not telling that it's a rock solid or a foolproof plan. There might be some edge cases and it will break once Robbie bumps from 1.2 to 1.3. Hey.
Swami and I, when we
Anything
worked
to
at the
add,
same
Johnny?
company, we actually did that in the common components repository that I was a part of maintaining. There was an RC branch, and you could get the @RC and always get the latest release candidate, and check out and see, how is this working for me relative to this project or that project. So yeah, real true story. It definitely does work.
Cool.
Let me actually
Back to
show.
you,
We just showed how
Robbie.
to do this, but let me show how to consume it in the client, not for the general case, which Swami just showed us, but how to do it specifically with the design system. One of the things that we talked about, but we kind of glossed over, is not glossed over really. We just didn't go into as much detail as you could. Is this npm-rc file? You need 2 of them if you do it this way, but the way I'm suggesting you do it is whenever your project consumes a repository that you published and kept private for your organization, you need to indicate where to get those packages from, and you can do that here. But in order to access it, you're also going to need to modify, and I'm not going to show you mine because I don't have anything to blur out the actual key. But you need to also edit a npm-rc in your home directory, which will provide the authentication token so that it's able to get it. If you edit out that authentication token or comment it out in your home npm-rc, then you'll get a 403 error trying to install this instead of being able to successfully install it. And again, if you look at the documentation for today's talk, in Swami's section, the home directory.npm-rc, it actually shows you where you can put in your personal access token in your npm-rc file, right? So that one would go into your home directory. But then this one that you can see on my screen right here would just tell you, tell anybody who's new in this project where to go and get that value from, a library from that that begins with that artifact for npm. Give me just a second I'm trying to find where I'm at here in the. Okay, yeah. So that allows me at this point to do an npm install, and if I then do npm, what I can do is without catting it, I can show you that I do have a .npm-rc in my home directory already. And just trust me that it looks just very similar to what you see. It's got other keys that are useful in other projects for me. But it looks very similar to what you see in the documentation for today's session. So now if I do an npm I, /-s to save this is the name of our project here, and then design system, because we just used the entire design system block. That was kind of greedy of me. I'm able to actually go and get that. And like I said, this would give me a 403 if my home directory npm-rc was not set up correctly. But instead it installs. And now that won't give me the assets and the fonts that I published earlier. You can remember I showed in the configuration for the package that I'm exposing those, but I haven't consumed them yet. So to consume them, I have to go into the Angular JSON and let me see if I can find it. I have to get assets from that project and expose them here so that they're available within my project. Similarly, I want to make sure that I bring in the style. And you'll notice that I'm bringing in just one style file out of all the styles that get published over there. And that's because the way we wrote the design system, one style gets used once and does the global setup, and then the other styles are things like mix-ins and things that can be handy. And also like the component architectures that go into once, or component pieces that go into that style. So now with those two pieces
the same
in place,
thing I see.
Yes, sir.
Oh, the same thing I see when we use the Angular material. It will ask us to choose one out of those 4 themes. The themes which we select, that gets injected here.
Yes. Yeah. If it publishes a style or an asset, it very likely wants you to actually consume them in the Angular JSON for the project that's going to be mounting that library. Now, having done that, I can then go ahead and consume those. Like I can consume the footer and the profile and the header directly from the design system in my module or in my component if we're switching over to Angular 15. And then I can consume them here in, like this says eShop footer, eShop header, and eShop profile, because these are coming from the eShop design system. And these things render, let me go ahead and do that as well. How do I do it? Start local dev. If you think back to whenever we were showing earlier, very briefly, the storybook, and you saw the cat. Hopefully we're going to see a cat here in a minute too, because I've got it set to run locally and not go and actually try to authenticate. I think even without that, I'm still getting a cat. After we've authenticated, we'd have a person. And yeah, here is the actual page loading up and loading the profile and header pieces from the design system. So that was actually what I wanted to,
I love the cat though.
show. Yeah. That's the work for the day.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I think I'm just sat watching in awe, guys. You know, obviously you can tell that I'm really not from a developer background, so I'm really trying to understand these concepts. I really like the whole, you know, integration system when it comes to, you know, looking at a design system. Essentially, like you see the way you worded it, to me as an operations person, it kind of makes sense. You know, it's just about reuse, you know, kind of building off the back of other people's work, and, you know, kind of just having that methodology to do it. So yeah, thanks Robbie and Swami. You know, I'm certainly learning a lot through these sessions as well. So but yeah, I mean, there we go. I guess, you know, we're kind of at the end of today's session. We don't have many questions, or we don't have any questions in the chat at the minute, actually. But I mean, what we doing next, guys? What we doing on the next session in a couple of weeks' time? Have we got foresight of that yet?
Yeah, although it's not listed
It's the
correctly in the documentation, we're not going to introduce the design system next, Swami. We're
yeah, I just looking at that now. Yeah.
configuration. It's a configuration server, the TypeScript. We do the deep dive into that.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
I have some prep work to do on that yet. I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, we've got a couple of weeks. So we're back on the 3rd of February, wasn't it? 3rd? Am I right?
Yes, it's 3rd Feb, and the Feb month there are 2 interesting sessions. It's the configuration service deep dive. That's the Node.js microservice. And then 16th section, we speak about how do we create the deploy scripts and integrate it to client and update the containers. Like, you know, those are pretty interesting things. If you don't mind, Robbie, could you please take a couple of minutes to explain what this configuration service?
No problem. I can do that very easily, and in a way that I think will appeal to what John was saying earlier about the, you know, having a view and openness to this from a DevOps perspective. Whenever we produce these various services, we want to be able to consume them, and ultimately we're going to be serving them through a unified kind of you know, presence in the front end or online is really what I mean. But we're going to want to be able to indicate where to go, you know, for different, you know, queries. If you have a login process, then you're going to want to go to a login identity authority, right? A service that is responsible for the identity. And behind the scenes, those are physically separate services, even if they're just like different routes whenever they're actually being consumed. But the front end doesn't know where those things are. We need to tell it, right? So we want to give it like a tree of information about how to get data in order to communicate with the app. And that's what the configuration service is about.
Oh, that's awesome. An excellent concept. I really liked it a lot.
Cool. Well, I mean, I guess we're at that point in time then, guys. Let's bring this one to an end. Yeah, thank you to all the viewers. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, Robbie, Swami, always a pleasure. Nice to see you both. And we'll catch you in a couple of weeks' time. See you all soon.
Absolutely.
Bye for
now.
Bye,
guys.
Good night, folks.